This week I sport things up with twin turbos under the hood, dual kidney-shaped grills, and a profile referred to as a Gran Coupe, all from our friends over at BMW. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now, specifically behind me is the 2020 M235i, and the only thing I gave pause on was the coupe reference, because, well, I can count 4 doors. This isn't the first time I gave pause when BMW referenced a 4-door as a coupe. Think back to their SAC lineup, the Sports Activity Coupe. That's an SUV-like vehicle with a very teardrop silhouette. Looks like it should be a 2-door, but they deliver 4. That helps with overall comfort, ingress, but still gives that sporty styling. Same idea here on the M235i. Overall compact numbers would work quite well in a 2-door styling, but by going 4, well, it just helps with overall comfort, in my opinion, well, being able to deliver 2 grown adults in the back. The only thing we had to do is modestly slide the front seats just a hair forward. But before we get to overall comfort on the inside, let's talk about design on the outside. Pretty much straightforward. The only thing I noticed is really here at the back end, a little bit more raised and fatty, modest rear spoiler attached to the rear deck lid. Not a huge offering, and again, that's because of the compact numbers and the very sloping roofline. As for chiseling, just a modest line right here that, well, disappears and picked up right through the midline as well. The haunches shaved off, give me a straight edge right above the 4 corners. As for flare, naturally here on the lower third and around to the front. So this vehicle is a compact, so don't be confused by looking at 4 doors and call it a sedan. And well, you can see it by the numbers, about 178.5 inches overall, wheelbase around about 105 inches. Height, just over 4.5 feet tall, and width just around about 71 inches. Now add about 10 more inches when the mirrors are folded out, but as you can tell, when you lock it up, this vehicle does tuck in quite nicely. One other number to think about is ground clearance, and surprisingly, this came in higher than it appears, around about 6 inches. I felt like this vehicle actually snugged the ground quite lower than that, but well, 6 inches gives you decent ground clearance. Even better is the grip at the 4 corners. This vehicle only coming in all-wheel drive. When it comes to overall design on the M235i, there are hardline edges and in-your-face designs, most notably the grille warfare, but there's subtle hints across the vehicle that really tie everything together. Most notable is the hood up front. First off, with this hard edge right through here, then softens. You think it's just going to kind of flatline across the hood, but instead goes to a secondary raised edge, give you a nice hard edge through here, then a dip, then back to 2 ridge lines right through the middle. That all tapers down to the front, really giving you a dramatic look for airflow, as well as, of course, points you to the aggressive front end. Also, what you're going to see is where the hardline edges, well, softens to more curvaceous look. It's kind of a blending of both worlds. Naturally in the silhouette, you're seeing that as it elongates here towards the rear end, flares out just the same and dives in there to the rear spoiler. Now, I'm a big fan of built-in rear spoilers versus something applied or adorned like we see here. That just kind of gives more of a built-in approach versus the applique, but either way, it nicely dives and sweeps back up. And again, the overall weight and fill back here is substantial. At the 4 corners, you got 235s wrapping a 19-inch wheel, which is a nice matte finish, which couples nicely with those kidney-shaped grills. Now, as for ingress, BMW innovation takes it to the next level. Modest key offering that you pretty much keep in your pocket. Walk right up, very intuitive. Place your hand here. It knows you're there wanting to get inside. As you walk away, simply lightly press right there, locks right up. Even better is security at the fill up area. Basically, it's going to be locked all the time, but if you do need to fill up, just simply put your hand nearby a lock, pops right open. What I also like is, well, it interacts again with the vehicle. Lock it up, once again, it's locked up. Very intuitive. Fast forward to the back end design, first thing you'll notice really is wrapping around taillights that sweep out to the outer haunches. Nice darkened accent that kind of ties it all together, really giving you a nice visual eye line all the way around. Now, body color on this particular model, obviously white, pretty much covering from head to toe. All the accents, again, in a nice glossy black, but down here, nice dual pipes, and again, that matching accent that you see at the 4 corners and on the grille. As for safety, backup sensors and a backup camera. As for the trunk, around about 15 cubic feet of space. Again, you try to call this a coupe, but you got so much space back here, as well as the cabin. Well, I just still have yet to see, well, true coupe numbers. Now, what you're going to notice is nice electronic release This is where you're going to see the coupe kind of feel, which is very cavernous to be expected. Not a lot of height right through here, so bigger, taller items that you expect to be able to put maybe in a sedan, just not going to happen. Really going to kind of sweep back through here. Now, underneath the cargo area, you will notice a little bit of deeper that you can access. This is where you're going to gain the height. So once you kind of fold this rear cargo floor back, this is where you get some elevation. If you notice, that folds up pretty much with one hand and it locks into place. So that allows you to maybe store items underneath or just gain some extra height. When this vehicle is at rest or idle, it definitely has great bedside manner, doesn't draw much attention. That is until you tap the gas and, well, it reminds you that it's all business under the hood and, well, those two pipes start singing. That will definitely get people's attention. Now, as for the design, it definitely has some edginess, but it can blend in with traffic. That is until they look in the rearview mirror and see this front end. This is where the blunt force trauma is, specifically with the overall design, the edginess and the chiseling to perfection, and well, most notably is the kidney-shaped grills. These are adorned in a nice matching color, again, to the four corners, glossy accent through the middle. Now, it's all about airflow here at the front end, gobbling up and feeding these twin turbos. Now, right through this area does have active shutter control, but down this area, really porting in and feeding that engine. On the outer side, taking the airflow, pushing it out to the side. Now there at the back, you do kind of see a mimicking of that, but those are fake, not actual operational. But when you look over the whole design, this is the aggressive side of the M235i. Now under the hood, it's a 2.0 liter twin power turboed inline four cylinder. That's going to deliver around about 301 horses and 332 foot-pounds of torque. As for 0 to 60, 4.7 seconds. That compared to the 228i, which is about 6.0. As for transmission, it's going to be an 8-speed automatic. LCD displays the name of the game, not just for the infotainment system, center of the dash, but also the gauge cluster, really giving you great technology at your fingertips and adaptability to what you actually want to see. Now, first off, when it comes to entertainment, nice split screen like you see here, navigation as well as your entertainment and communication there on the side. Just simply press it, will go full screen. Now, you can interact with the touchscreen as well, but easier, of course, is the central control knob, which toggles up, spins around, and simply navigates with ease right above. This allows the driver really just to interact with it while keeping the eyes straight ahead. Really nice and intuitive. Now, one thing a lot of vehicles are doing is getting rid of the climate controls in the traditional sense, interacting it with the touchscreen system, but instead BMW going somewhat straightforward, though the controls are nice and sleek and minimal. Now, when it comes to fan speed, that is the control right through the middle with the push button. I do prefer a knob. As for the front end, you do have dual zones up front, temperatures readout right there on the display, all the other various modes right across the dash. Now, even with the huge LCD display and the controls on the steering wheel, BMW does keep it somewhat traditional with the controls for the radio down below in the form of the volume select and presets. Now, I pretty much forgot all about these this week that they were there, but they are helpful. If this was a long time vehicle of mine, I would pretty much put on my presets because they are nice shortcuts, though I did tend to rely on the controls right here for the most part, as well as that toggle switch, which gives you the readout in the heads-up display, allowing you to scroll through all the stations with the touch of your finger. Between the front occupants, you will have that central knob, again with nice shortcuts, pretty much everything you need to interact with the infotainment system up above. Over here on the left, really related to driving. First off, Sport, Comfort, and Eco Pro. Now, one thing you'll notice with the Eco Pro, that bedside manner I mentioned earlier really gets refined when you press that. I pretty much kept it in Comfort all the time, but if you want to kind of get that boot scoot and boogie going, well, the Sport definitely redefines this vehicle. Now, up here as well is parking sensors and the auto stop, auto start feature on and off. That helps if you don't like the jerkiness of this vehicle starting back up when you begin to roll forward. That turns it off. Now, when it comes to transmission, just pretty much select down for drive, then press up for reverse, and as well as press the button here for park. Now, I mentioned earlier with the heads-up display, that's going to give you the current speed limit in the area you're driving, as well as the digital readout right there where you need it. Down below, you do have the digital tach and speedometer, as well as other gauges there on the right. We'll find dual cup holders up here. Nice, strong, springy material, really grips the drink. Does take a little extra effort in some cases to get the drink inside, but I prefer that versus it rattling around. This area right here is a perfect place to put your phone, though with a cover on it. Does take a little extra oomph to get inside. The connectivity in the form of a USB. I thought this would be wireless charging. In this particular model, it was not. Nice simple center console to be expected, fairly narrow, but it still does give elbow support for both front occupants. Once it opens up, you will find a simple deep storage area. Also has connectivity in the form of a USB-C. Seating up front is going to be very sport inspired, bolstering on the sides as well as automatic controls for both front driver and passenger, and lumbar support, which also going to have as extra thigh support with that area right there, which can be manually pulled out. As for legroom numbers, around about 41 inches in the front, 34 inches in the back, which basically means backseat drivers may need just a little extra space, with front occupants sliding forward just a hair. When you put in reverse, you will get this nice backup camera, as well as in the front you do have sensors. Really gives you a radar-like view as you turn the steering wheel. Does let you indicate where the touchy points could be, but when you put in reverse, you get the nice simple radar as well, and that camera. Once again, BMW helped me redefine what coupe means. No longer about counting the doors, but rather the overall feel. Now, certainly the 235i felt more sedan through the cabin and, well, that extra cargo to boot. But the coupe certainly won out when it came to the horsepower on the hood, that aggressive front end, and, well, the silhouette, that gave it a nice picturesque coupe-like feel. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.